Okay, so I have to preface something here. Um, I'm going to go ahead and open up, because in the last scene we saved ours is UglyMonster here. I'm going to go to that anims folder and open up alex.mb. And we can save this again. Now, your animations absolutely will not work if you tweak the skinning on any of the animations that come after this. And I'm probably going to remind you of this in every video because it's unbelievably important. So, for example, right now we're gonna do a very quick walk cycle, or we can do a quick idle state together. And before I do that, I want to make sure that this original model is set up properly. So let's go ahead and go to Show. I'm just going to turn off joints for now because all I really want to see are these controllers, these NURB circles. You'll notice that there's a triangle right here. I want to select that, and then I want to go ahead and do where it says, let's see, oh, I'm sorry, the circle here. IKFK blend, we want to go forward kinematic, not inverse. If you don't know what that means, forward kinematic has to do with and I do that by typing in 0, by the way. Let's go ahead and deactivate our mesh here. Notice how there is no locking. What I mean by locking is if I select his hips, which is this diamond, and I press W to move down, inverse kinematic, you can see that his feet lock in place. So if I select this big circle, which is master root controller, you can see his body locks in place. When I typed 0 in there, it gave me these circles. And the circle shape doesn't necessarily matter, but you notice that it doesn't lock anything in place. It's sort of stiff, like that. See that? So same thing in here, I can move this, and it's sort of this stiff animation. Okay, so once our model is set up properly, and again, the skinning isn't perfect. Notice how when I rotated that shoulder, it kind of folded in on itself. I'm not going to necessarily cover skinning in this video. When we go to build more advanced, better looking models and we really get into building our own rigs, I'll cover skinning. Again, this is just an introduction to getting a model from ZBrush into Unity. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Control S at this point, now that our model is set up with forward kinematic arms. And I'm going to go to File, Save Scene As, and I'm going to name Alex. I'm going to get rid of the .mb and do the @ symbol, walk. And then I'm going to hit Save and hit Continue. We have two files now in that folder. We have an Alex and an alex@walk. So we're going to go ahead and make this guy walk. So if you really want to do a fantastic walk on your character, what we can do is, here, let's see if we can open up a new Firefox window here. And I'm going to go to demargin.weebly.com. And if you go to Tutorials Animation, My Animation, you'll notice here that I use the Morpheus rig, and I do more of an advanced, the videos will pop up in a second, I do more of an advanced walk. Okay, so I'm going to reference this image here quite a bit, okay? This 1 in 25. So I'm going to bring that up, but again, if you go to my site, demargin.weebly.com, you go to the animation section, you'll have this picture. So let's take a look at tackling this walk. And we're going to do a cycle here. So frame 1 in 25, the feet need to be like this. So let's go right off the bat, let's change this to, instead of 48 here and 24, we're going to go 25, and then we're going to change this to 25. Okay, and let's go to frame 1. And let's go ahead and put these right next to each other so we can sort of see a better example. So here, there we go, so it doesn't snap as much. Okay, so first things first, I'm just going to go ahead and select this diamond, and what you'll notice is the first thing I do on frame 1 is before I move anything, I hit S to set a key, and that's S as in Sam. So there it's keyed, and then I have auto key on here. So I'm going to move that forward, and then under foot roll, I'm just going to move the foot up. I'm going to select this heel here, hit S to set a key, move that, under foot roll, rotate that. Okay, and then I'm going to grab the master controller here and just pull him down a little bit. For his arms, let's just hit 4 so you can see inside of it. I'm selecting that shoulder, rotating it back. And it's the inverse here. So let's move this forward here. There's 1. Now, what I want to do here is I'm going to copy all of these. So I'm just highlighting all of these keys here. I'm going to click on 25 here and hit S to set a key. So now all of these are keyed on both 1 and 25. So I'm going to, again, hit S on 1 to make sure all of those are keyed, and 1 and 25. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we want to go to, let's go to 13 to do the inverse. So at this point, you don't necessarily need to reset the key, because notice that it's keyed here and here. And I'm just going to rotate this forward on 13. And I'm going to rotate this back here. You can see that. Let's rotate that back just a little bit more. And then the same thing with the foot here. I'm going to take my translate Z, and since I moved it 1.334, I'm just going to type a negative sign in front of that Z and hit enter, and that's going to shift it there. And you can see my foot roll is minus 44 here. I'm going to delete the minus and just hit enter, and you'll see that made it a 44, positive 44. Same thing here. I'm going to take away the negative sign on my translate Z here and hit enter, and then I'm going to change this to a minus, put a minus sign in front of this and hit enter. Okay? And I'll keep this the same here, this center point here. So what you'll notice is we get this roller skating effect. Now I actually did something where, from a previous tutorial, I have it set up on stepped and clamped. So I'm just going to make sure these are on spline. If you didn't change anything in your animation settings, they should already be set up to auto. This is how it comes default in Maya. So this is kind of like an additional thing that you don't have to do, but I'm going to do it anyway in the video. I'm going to go to Window, Animation, Graph Editor, and this kind of gives me an opportunity to show you. This is what a stepped out. And again, if this is your first time seeing any of this, it's going to look extremely confusing. I'm just going to select all of these, my entire model, select all of these keys, and just going to auto tangent it. And what you'll notice now is we get the animation instead of that story, that flipbook event. Again, if you don't understand it, watch my other videos. It'll, especially the run video, it'll make better sense. All right, so let's go ahead and, now that we have 1 and 13 knocked out of the way, let's move down our hierarchy to 4 and 16. And I know I'm going a little quick here, so if you need to, you can pause the video. So I'm going to go to frame 4, select this foot, and again, as long as they're keyed out, you don't have to worry about it. I'm going to take my foot roll, make it 0. So you can see at this point, his foot's going down. And again, I'm looking at this here. Notice that the foot flattens on 4. I'm going to grab my master controller. I'm going to bring him down. So we get this kind of effect, which is pretty neat. Again, I'm not worried about the arms. So here's 4. And I'm going to go up to 7. I'm going to pull his master controller up. And what you'll notice is it's the same thing here. This foot should be flattened out. Again, I'm selecting the right leg. So I'm going to 0 out foot roll. Hopefully. There we go. So here's 4. On 7, he's stepping up. And you'll notice that that back leg comes off the ground. So let's select this guy here. I'm pulling that up. And again, if you want to get that where the foot is hanging, you can go to toe roll. Oh, not toe roll. I'm sorry. Toe raise, I believe. Yeah, toe raise. And bring this down. So we get, and on 4, this should be still on the ground. So let's make sure rotate Y is 0 on 4. You get this. He's stepping up on 7. On 9, that looks pretty close to 9 and 21, where he's kind of coming off the ground. I mean, we could move this foot forward a little bit more. And then it plants on 13. So let's get rid of our Y here. And toe raise needs to be 0. There we go. So we get this. And again, if you get stuck, you can redo this video a couple times. So there's that. All right, and then let's power through. So we are actually going to go back to the beginning, and on frame 16, we go over a few, but this time we're on the opposite leg. So on 16 here, our foot roll becomes 0. So we get this, and he goes on 16 down again, here. So 13, he should actually be 0 on Y, which means, again, I'm playing with this guy here. So this goes up, he plants his foot, down a little bit here. This foot here on 16, you can notice he goes up on his toe. So let's see, what's the best way for us to do that? Well, I guess that looks okay. Let's just set a key for that on 16. As he goes to 19, stands up. And if you ever get lost, like you're like, oh, what am I, like I'm getting stressed out, click on 4 or click on 9, which is the inverse, and just double check. This leg is standing up here. Or, I'm sorry, 7. We're on 7. It's this foot that's straight, so that means when I go to 19, it's my inverse, which means, so here's 7. That means the inverse, which is this foot, should be up. So as we come through, this foot should be fully planted. Shouldn't be anything in foot brake. And this foot should be the one that's off the ground. So we can get rid of foot roll here, and we can go to toe raise. You can see here, he's got a step, plants. That foot flattens out. As he comes up to 19, that leg comes up. And it turns over and he plants again. Alright, let's see how that looks. Let's press play. Alright. And we're already at 11 minutes, so I just want to talk a little bit about the distribution of weight. So if you go to 7 here, the weight should be sort of a little distributed over on one side, just to add a little effect, and that means, where's that at? So I just make sure, on 19, his body sort of shifts over to the other side. This is a very generic walk, okay? Again, if you want to do more of a refined walk, for example, like you want to add like feet turning and talk about countering the shoulder and the hips and stuff. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and hit Control S to save this guy. Now watch what I do here. I'm going to take my walk and I'm going to immediately do File, Save, Scene As. And I'm going to select Alex at Walk, and I'm going to remove the walk, and I'm going to do Alex at Run. And hit Save. And hit Continue. Okay? So in the next video, we're going to tackle runs.